Hello, we are here. It is raining, it is cold, and it's typical Cape Town weather. So, Shakira, I think they'd like to know who you are. Tell them a bit more.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Shakira. My purpose for doing this video is to explain to you, to show you who I am. This is in the comfort of my lounge. So, and we are sitting on the couch. That's what we do. We have conversation. And so my purpose today is to enlighten what I do. I uplift and empower women, specifically those that have gone through traumatic events in their life, to uplift and empower you in order for you to break through the patterns, the trauma, and heal in a supportive and loving space. I too have gone through my own healing, my trauma, and so I know what it is and I know what it feels like to be on your own and having to sort out the disbelief and try to push through every single day because you have people and loved ones that depend on you. And so my job here is to show that there are people out here that have gone through the shit that you've gone through, going through. And it's such a beautiful side once you actually get to deal with what it is that you're going through, with the love and support of a professional.
I think we were speaking earlier in the week also about the validation of trauma and the comparison of trauma. And that's something people want to know about. You need to have a death, or you need to have an abusive relationship, or some very bad trauma, but it can also be something as simple as moving away from home, losing a job.
Small things that we don't even realize that actually impact the way we feel, the way we interact, the way we behave. And it doesn't need to be massive traumas, but we share similar emotions with regards to that triggers us, like hurt, pain, despair, a loss of a loved one, grief. These are all emotions that do trigger us when we don't actually realize it is part of what needs to be healed in order for us to be stronger women and daughters and wives and whatever other hats we have to wear. And the one thing that I've come to realize through my own journey and my own healing is that it's okay to ask for help.
It's difficult though.
It's difficult, especially when you have been programmed to believe that you need to be strong. Exactly. You just need to do what you need to do and get on with it. Wipe your tears and roll with it.
Yeah.
And as many of us have done this time and time again, to what extent, to what point? When you are extremely exhausted, when you cannot get out of bed, when you are feeling like you just want to cry and hide away from the world, then you've gone too far.
Yeah.
Because you cannot be strong all the time. And when you have support to be able to just speak about it, and the right support, I would say, because many a times we what's the word I'm looking for? We cover this. We protect this heart so big that we don't allow anyone to come in. And I've been there. I've been through it. And still today, there's many things that I experienced, I can now reflect on because I have the tools to be able to do that. And it's never about the other person.
Which leads me to something we've had lots of conversations over the last few weeks. When we spoke about you need to speak to the right person.
Yeah.
So talk a bit more about, how, not actually forward moving, but how it can pull you back. Talking to people who are stuck in their old beliefs, or stuck in a certain way of doing things that maybe can't understand what you are going through right now.
And this is the important bit. And I want to explain it in the analogy of the masks that we wear, right? So when we are trying to cover up the hurt and the pain or whatever emotion it is that we're going through, we tend to put on this biggest smile. And we all know, we've all done it. We've been there, and sometimes we still do it. So we want to always help someone else. So when we are in a circle, and I'm not saying get rid of your friends, no. That's not what I'm saying. But also just to be consciously aware of the people that you interact with. It's, if you know that 5 of your friends that you always seen, that always speak the same story, it's always like a spiral of a negative energy within the conversation. Guess what happens?
You stay there.
You take on that energy, and so somehow your brain remembers that feeling, and it will recollect something else that had happened in your past, which will bring up more of that. It will amplify that emotion. So
not only your vibe attracts your tribe, but it kind of stews in the same sort of dynamics and emotions.
There we go. And what I always strive for in my own life is to be surrounded with people that are inspiring, that are empowering in their own truth, in their own journeys, in order for me to see a different perspective. And so I can learn, and that's what our journeys are all about in life, is to constantly be a learner, a student of life.
And the more you learn, something you actually said yesterday, the more you learn, the more you reflect parts of yourself as well that you need to maybe re-look at, re-unpack.
Yeah, and each and every person that comes into your path, into your way, into your journey, into your life, is always a teacher. They are always a teacher when you are consciously aware of what is it in that person that triggers an emotion inside of me. Because it's never, that person has been brought as a vessel to teach, so that we can reflect and improve what it is that we are needing to deal with. And I can only but be so grateful for the people that have been part of my journey, whether I perceived it at that time to be traumatic or negative or toxic. I sit back today and I can reflect on all these little lessons that showed me blessings within it. And I love each and every person that has ever come into my path, because I understand that they have been part of my growth and evolution. And it will always be evolving. And that's the beauty of life, is when you'll be able to share your story, share your learning, share what you've experienced, but also not in the negative of what we can always constantly go back into, because our minds are such amazing organism that's been created from the divine. It is there to safeguard us. It is there to help us to, and it can also hamper us in certain stages. Because I mean, fear is the biggest, I want to say the word, but it's the biggest challenge that we need to overcome and face to overcome it in order for us to take the next step.
Would you say it's fear in per se of something going wrong, or fear of what if and I don't know the answer?
It's the fear of the unknown. Many a times we know in deep down in our gut, I would love to do this, but then the but comes in. The but is actually the ego, it's the mind, but you don't have enough time. There's all these excuses. And these excuses are there because we are fearful of the unknown. And so we come up with all the scenarios like, what if this happens and what if that happens? How are you going to know if you don't ever try?
Would you not say the known is safer though, because you know it, been there, done that, have the t-shirt?
Exactly. But also we haven't necessarily looked at the past scenarios in our life with the open perspective of, so what if it does work out?
Do you think that's what can be dubbed as limiting beliefs?
Definitely so. Definitely so.
So just for everybody listening, there's so much terminology that's being used, and where I say, my gut feeling, Shakira would say intuition. So we are speaking the same language, just sometimes the words we use is different. And should you sign up for this program, you'll start to learn what those words mean, and it's not a foreign concept, it's actually something that you know, that's been there all the time. It's just now we give a name to it.
Fancy words for it.
Fancy.
Smanchy. But when I speak as plat as as who I am. Because at the end of the day, it's not about who knows better.
Yeah.
We all learn from each other all the time. It is our willingness to be open to receive the message that comes through. And I've had many teachers in my life, extremely important ones, and I say this because I see them and I looked up to them for the inspiration that they gave. And I look at how I've evolved and become a better person because of the people around me. And yes, besides me going and doing a whole lot of studies of self-development and self-improvement and all of these other things, it's all great, it's all beautiful. They use such big terms of this theory and that theory, but in actual fact we are walking manifestations of these things that we do each and every day. And that's about life. You learn, you make mistakes, you fail, and I don't see failure as failure. For me, and we had this conversation earlier on, when someone gives you feedback, I don't take it as criticism, because I know within that, if I'm willing to listen and stop saying yeah but I know, because the I know means okay, you don't have anything else to learn from it. But to see it from a different perspective, from someone else's perspective, from someone else's filters and beliefs and values, you get to learn so much more about people.
Sort of opens up those blinkers.
Yeah. And that's why I enjoy interacting with people. I enjoy having deep conversations with people, because that's the essence of who you are. Without the judgment, without the pretense and all of that. No, just listen. Listen and learn. Give your perspective. And I've learned so many skills with the coaching program that I did with NLP, which is Neuro-Linguistic Programming, such a long ass name, but
NLP is fine.
Yeah, so I've learned to ask valuable questions.
Yes.
Not just to my clients, but to myself too, because we are constantly learning. So if there's something that's triggering me and makes me say, oh, but why would they say that? What would they? It's not to judge the person. I'm asking myself, what is it within me that has triggered me, so that I can learn from it, so I can heal from it, so I can move that part of it out of the way. Because our path has so many little pebbles, and we pick up some pebbles because we need to put that in our backpack, and we'll learn from how we deal with our own issues as we go along. But once you get to understand, okay, this pebble means this to me, is it something that I need to hold on to? Because that backpack gets heavy. And so once we can embrace that particular aspect or emotion or event, we can literally say, thank you, I appreciate you for what you bring and what I've learned from it. I don't need it anymore, thank you, and toss it out the bag. And so our journey becomes lighter, because our bag becomes easier to carry.
So the program, because I know about carrying a backpack. Sometimes that backpack turns into old school haversack with absolutely everything in it. Sometimes heavy, sometimes you put it down, sometimes you take something out of it. But more often than not, you pick up that majority of the weight again.
And some of the weight isn't even yours.
Yes.
And that's the biggest aha moment I've had many times over and over. Because being an empath, you automatically have this inkling to save and fix.
Yes.
And so when someone goes through a turmoil or challenge in their lives, you automatically feel inclined to help. And I've needed to learn through my journey that you are not here to fix someone else.
Or to save the person.
Or to save. And I needed to learn that the hard way. And with that learnings, I get to sit with people, and sometimes random people would come up to me, and I mean, working in the corporate, you'd always find someone just walks up to you and starts talking about the situation, and
in the weirdest of places sometimes.
Exactly. And I love the point where we're having this conversation, and I get to help someone open the perspective from just this is my body, this is all I see, to what the possibilities.
With a few questions. Because they've had the answers all the time.
They always do. We always have the answers inside of us. It's just the matter of giving ourselves enough love and compassion to be vulnerable enough to open that blinkers, open up this heart space so that we can listen to our intuition.
And sometimes
and that's where the answers are.
we stand in our own way too.
Yeah.
And we are sort of
I love the word self-sabotage. I've self-sabotaged myself time and time again, and then after I'm like, really, Shakira? I would have these conversations like, really, Shakira, did you? What were you?
I think Fire agrees with you.
Yeah. So it's exciting to be able to attain these tools. And this is what I do. I teach people. I don't pick you up and carry you.
Yeah, that's important to know.
You don't pick up and carry, because at the end of the day, when I'm not around, or when someone else that has been supporting you is not around, what then?
Yes.
So I empower women and men too, surprisingly. I mean, there's been many men that's come to me and said, listen, I don't know what to do anymore. This is where I'm at. Same with women. I mean, it's not about gender.
No, it's not.
We are all human beings, right? And we're living in this world that's chaotic on the outside, chaotic in the inside. How do we find the balance?
Yeah.
Because there's certain things that are in our control, which is what I'm more interested in, rather than what's on the outside that we have no control of. Because I've learned throughout the years, you have no way of controlling what's happening on the outside. The only thing that you can do, and so empowering for a woman, is to know your worth and to identify who you are. And that comes with lots and lots of self-love practice. And I'm not just talking about buying the bag and
so much
doing
more
your
than
dance. No, it's showing yourself the same amount of compassion and love you would have for your most loved one in your life.
And it's somewhere that as frequently as you compliment others, you need to show that appreciation for yourself as well.
And it's pretty hard at times, because we are so self-judgmental. We are so hard on ourselves. And I say we because I know I'm extremely hard on myself. And it's because I know what my purpose and I know what my vision is. And when I don't show up for myself, it irks me. When I don't take care of myself, I get to see the consequences of my actions. And so I understand that it's so extremely important to be able to say, you know what, mommy needs some me time. And take the mommy hat off and just be you. Just be you. However that may be. If it's just laying in bed and reading a book, or if it's watching a series, please don't binge on series, because then you'll go zombie and you'll be all out of the way. But have that time. Take the time. Have a bubble bath. And I mean, sometimes for me a bubble bath means, mommy, are you done yet?
And what works for you in terms of, that internal dialogue that you have is so much more powerful sometimes.
Whatever is going to bring you peace, tranquility, serenity within.
Put your earphones in.
Space.
Put the music on.
Yeah.
Dance like no one's watching.
I must be honest. I dance and I dance. The blinds will be closed. The music will be on, and it will be on loudspeaker. And I would just allow the music to take me. Not take me, but I mean, feel into who I am. My body is your body is such a sacred temple, a vessel, because there's so much that we take for granted within our entire body. If we don't look after this body, how are we going to be able to continue our journey in a healthy way? And not just for ourselves, but for everyone that is around us, that needs Shakira in this world, that needs a Narima in this world, because we all bring our unique gifts to the world. And
talking about unique gifts, think this is a good idea now to maybe say what you've done to qualify you in the position of helping others more. So let's talk about not only the certificates and the awards and accolades and how many years at what job. What have you been through that makes you know that you can help others?
So my journey has been a extremely exciting one. I can say exciting now because back then it was not exciting. It was extremely daunting and challenging in the same breath. And I think it's heading for 3 years. But long before then, it never just happens at that moment of thunder. There's a brewing that happens before that.
The cloud build up.
And so 3 years ago, I went through a very traumatic experience within my marriage. And it wasn't something that just happened like that. You as a woman, you have this unique power when we are so in tune with our intuition. And when you are in a toxic work relationship environment, or when you are in a toxic relationship for that matter, you kind of lose that connection slowly but surely as time goes on. And it came to a point where I was so disconnected. I was so disconnected with who I am. Who are you, Shakira? That was one of my biggest questions. Like, who are you? What are you doing? What has happened to your life? What are you doing with yourself? You had so much spunk and go-getter attitude that this person that you now have become is dull and sad and depressed. And what had happened? And it took me a hell of a knock, and I will say it was a hell of a knock because it's like the universe just pulled the rug out under my feet and I fell flat on my butt. And I needed that because when I spoke about earlier on, when your tank is full, right? So you are on work mode, you are mommy or doing all of these things, and all of a sudden you just come to a halt, a point of the tank is screeching at you. It is on reserve. Can you just take a stop? Can you take a break? And
the light is flicking, but you don't see it.
You don't see it. And to that point of depletion, it was extremely daunting space to be in. It was a dark space. I couldn't get up in the morning. I forced myself to get up so that I can go to work, not wanting to be there, because I needed to face all these people. And it was always putting on this, no, everything's cool, put your big girl panties on and deal, and you do all of these things just to get you hyped up.
But that's like a plaster, it's not really...
Always just a plaster. And being in a leadership role in the corporate space, you have so many people that are looking to you for answers. And it was to that point where my mind, my brain, my thoughts were so scattered in my head that I couldn't even make the simplest of decisions.
So with troubleshooting other people's issues, concerns, and putting yours on the back burner.
Here we go. And because I understand my type of personality and my heart is very big, I would take on more and more and more, and to my own detriment.
But you don't just take it on with your hands, you take it on with your heart.
With my heart. And I look at my people that I worked with. They are doing extremely well, and I'm extremely grateful, and I'm hoping that I played a part there where I've started to let go the cords, the umbilical cords, and started empowering them. Yeah, started empowering them to think on your feet. And that was one of my greatest moments, to be able to sit back and see, you know what, irrespective of what was happening on the other side of my world, there's the work that I've put in.
Yes.
And that was an amazing reflection for me. But with all of that being said, when you get home, you still have to deal with, you have to pick up that other bag that's extremely heavy, and you need to face what's happening in your world. So it came to a point where I was done.
Yeah.
I was done. I couldn't live this lie of, oh, everything looks hunky-dory on the outside, and not knowing what happens behind four walls. And my tired was tired. My tired was tired. My soul was tired. My flame was dimming every single day. And I started questioning, what is your purpose? What are you meant to do here in this world? You're waking up every single day. The universe, God, Allah is saying to you, here's another opportunity.
Yeah.
And as I went through my darkest nights of the soul, and I say this because it's like feeling like you're dying. It's like you are reaching a point of death. You cannot anymore. You cannot even get dressed in the morning. You don't even feel like brushing your teeth. You just like, I love you kids, but there is
nothing behind it.
Yes.
So clinically,
complete.
from a psychological point of view, you hit about the depression.
It was depression. It was diagnosed as depression, and I had to be on meds and all of that. And deep down, my soul was saying to me, Shakira, get off those meds.
Yeah.
And that, together with my kids as my biggest why, I took it on. I faced my fears, my biggest fears head on. And I needed to make very difficult decisions that would change our entire world, mine and my kids. And when I made my intention to better myself in order to be whole for myself and then for my kids. Because as moms, we are constantly wanting to do so much for our kids that I also came to realize I was doing so much for my kids, but how am I empowering them? How am I giving them and imparting the tools that they would need in order to do their own, to become their own? So as moms, we need to give them more responsibilities. And it was hard for me to do because both my kids were very young at that stage, and I thought, oh, they're still my babies. But when you get to the age of 7, 8, 9, you know how to make your own cup of tea, right? You can make up your bed, Mom has shown you many a time. So that also helped me to know that I'm still empowering them and giving them the responsibility. And that is the same lesson that I needed to learn during that time was you need to take responsibility. Not responsibility for others and for your partner, for their own shit that they went through or going through. I needed to take responsibility for my own actions. What part and role did I play in this? And I needed to accept the hard truths.
Yes.
And I'm okay with that.
And just with the hard truths, some may feel listening to this that we're kind of not addressing the elephant in the room. So we're talking about, Shakira's talking about herself and her kids and her marriage, so there's a person missing. But what we find is that in many of these types of conversations, it's easy to vilify the ex-husband as to make him seem like the bad person, the one that did everything wrong. Where at the end of the day, marriage is about compromise and choices, and if it's not serving you, you need as a woman to make the choice, right? Move on.
And it's not just about
It's a process of, because like you mentioned, there was bloody good days.
No, for sure.
Extremely good days.
Good memories, and
Yes.
it will always be a happy place to go and visit. And in the same breath, I need to also realize that
Wasn't serving you.
there was parts of it that I knew deep down inside wasn't, what's the word? It it wasn't
It wasn't
aligned
okay
with my values
with
and
you.
my beliefs.
Got.
And the more I started feeling into my intuition, the more the universe was showing me that I wasn't wrong. There were certain things that I couldn't pinpoint, I couldn't put my finger on, and it all came to light. And making the decision was, it was hard sore. It was sad because I can still say today that no matter what has happened, I still love him for the sake of my creator.
Yes.
Because I get to see the role that he had played in my evolution, in my growth to be where I am today. But also that couldn't have happened if I didn't open my eyes. And so, with that being said, there is no villain in the story. And I would never want that to be the pinnacle point of why we are, or why I'm doing what I'm doing today, because it's got nothing to do with the other person.
It's got to do with you.
It's got to do with my purpose that has been unfolding for years and years and years, and it took me some time to actually take the journey within to identify what that purpose was, what my gifts are. And it's always been there. It's just that sometimes we get so blinded about the doing that we actually don't take the time out to sit down and reflect. And so that's 3 years later. My kids are extremely happy. We are in a very beautiful space in our lives where there's more joy, there's more tranquility. We have the freedom to be authentically who we are.
Would you say that's because you are more in balance?
Exactly. And I do believe it's because I know who I am. And I operate and I behave and I act within my integrity. And if something doesn't sit right, that's where your boundaries come in.
Yeah.
And it took me a hell of a long time to learn what my boundaries were and to honor my own boundaries when someone else had come in and tried to overstep it, and never in a disrespectful way, but knowing my worth and knowing where I was to where I am today. You can give yourself some credit to say, you've put in the hard work, you've done the healing, you have gone through to hell and back. You've been in the fire and now you're out of the fire, and then something else turns around. So your journey never stops. You don't. It doesn't just stop
about the destination. It's about the journey.
There we go. Exactly.
So
yeah, that's where I'm sitting today, and it's not just that. Oh, I've become a coach in 3 years. Hell no. I've been coaching for most of my career, which was more than 20 odd 30 years, and it's been an extremely beautiful journey. And this is what I would love so many, especially women, especially mothers, that are the doers, the fixers, the everything to everyone else, but forget about themselves, and to give you that sense of knowing how much more you are than just that title of a mom. Yeah. And that's basically where we are.
So if you want to know how to wear all of your hats and wear them with pride and wear them with craziness sometimes,
yes,
stay tuned, because we're going to be speaking to Shakira again about what it is that she offers women or people out there. What are the concepts of her teachings? What are the stepping stones that she uses, as well as how she can help? And as she said, she doesn't help so that she can be the doctor with the band-aid or the plaster to fix it. How does she empower women to be able to, should they face similar situations, be able to help themselves as well? So stay tuned. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for being here in this space. I was meant to have